So you remember the Liteon DVD recorder I had a couple weeks ago that I did not have a remote for? Well, I found a remote that should work with this one. So we're going to put this one up on the bench and get it working. I know it needs a belt. We got to change that out. We'll do some test recordings on it and give you guys a little demo on how these things actually work. I'm going to take the unit apart so you guys can see it writing to a disc. Let's check it out. You guys remember this one? I showed this off a while back and I couldn't make it work because I didn't have the remote control. This, of course, was the Liteon LVW5115. And I believe I found the remote for it. I do believe this might be the right remote control for this unit. Let's see whether it works. Does the power button do anything? It turns on the blue light on the front. We may have the right remote. It turns on. Okay. Hit the open close button. I think this might have needed a belt. Yes. This needs a belt. That's why I took it apart. So we're going to replace the belt on this drive and I'm going to test it out. I'll try it on some of those burned up scratch discs and we'll see how well this one writes and give this one a little run and see how it performs. But first things first, I got to change that belt because it's not opening. So to get to the belt, I guess I got to pull out the screws and remove the drive. Maybe we'll take the top cover off it too so we can watch the laser burning. See how bright that sucker gets when it's writing to a disc. So first things first, out comes the drive so that I can change the belt out. And I've unplugged it, by the way. Just for you safety conscious people, yeah, I did unplug it. I've got a couple Liteon. I've got two other ones as well, but they've always been kind of hit and miss. I got one that's called an all-write, and it will actually write to CDRs as well. I haven't played with that one in a long time. This one here, I believe, just does the DVD disc, the DVD-R and RW. Oh, I guess I have to. Take off the front. So let me just open this up. So I can remove the front nose piece. If I can get it to open. Open sesame. It's stuck. There we go. Okay, pull that piece off the front. And actually I think I'll probably just unplug it like this rather than let it close because it might make it easier to get to what I need to get to with it open. I'll try to do this without disconnecting too much on here. Because the ribbon cables are really short on here, but I might be able to get to the belt if I just pull that out like that. I may be able to get to the belt. It should be right under here. If I can see it. There it is, right there. Okay. So this should be relatively easy, I think, to swap out the belt. It doesn't get much easier than that. See if I can find one that's a little smaller. I might even have one kicking right here. What have we got here? I got a bunch of belts just kind of lazing around here. I think this one here might fit the bill. So let's just try to put this little belt on. It's probably one of the easiest machines to change a belt on that I've seen. Oh, had it there. There we go. All right. Back together again without disconnecting anything, because if you don't disconnect anything you don't have to worry about breaking anything. You don't have to worry about zapping lasers and replace the 4 screws and then we'll set this thing up and do some recording and see how it works. I'll use my DVD player as a source, a wall-mounted DVD player as a video source. This does have a tuner in it as well, so I could actually record right off of my in-house cable, for that matter. All right, will it open? Yes, it does. This has also got DV link on it as well, so FireWire in, which is nice. Let's grab some discs that I can destroy. Which one's got nice scratches on it? Oh, that one's got a nice bunch of nice scratches. That one's got a nice scratch too. As you can see, I'm not too concerned. This is just for test recording, so I'll load up that disc. So I'm just going to let this thing spin up and read the disc and see what it says. And look at the menus on here. It says preparing blank disc. No kidding, it's a blank disc. Never been used. Just want to see what options I have on here. It's got the guider button. That's what I was looking for on the other remote. That wouldn't work on this one. I tried to run this with a universal. So with this remote control, I could program my universal to work. It's prepping the disc. It says reading. It's ready to go. So this is just coming off the tuner, but obviously I'm not going to use this with the music on there. I just put it on the tuner because I wanted to find out whether this unit has actually got a stereo tuner, but it does not. It only has a mono tuner, like a lot of stuff did from this era. So I'm going to record from my other DVD, and we'll record some shots from this one, and then I'll try the mini DV input and record some stuff from the mini DV. Or I should say Digital 8 over FireWire, and we'll check that out. So let me fire up the other machine, and I know you guys are going to be interested to see this thing burn, so I took the top cover off so that we can see the laser as it's actually burning, because you know it's going to be considerably brighter than the one on the DVD player that I've got playing over here, which is playing my source. Oh, I got to switch it to the right source. I'm on the front input here. Switch to source rear. There we go. Okay, when I hit record, make sure I'm in the right speed. I want to do this at the highest quality speed, so let me just find my my setup here. Video output speed. There should be one here in the menu for HQ. Yeah, okay, that's the highest quality. That'll give me the best image quality. So get out of that, and if I hit record on the remote here, we should see this thing fire up. And there it goes. Now watch the laser. It should probably get quite a bit brighter when it actually does the writing. There it goes. If I kill some lights in here so you guys can see what's going on. This is how the laser writes. And that's actually quite bright. Like it's making the entire disc glow, as you can see. And that's shining through the disc. By comparison to the other DVD player that's just playing the source disc, it's just playing at or running at a constant fixed. You can see the spot. And then we go back to the other one. You'll see how much brighter this one is as it's writing. So what's happening in this case is it's buffering the video or buffering the data, and then it writes it to the disk, and then it reads it back as it because it does a check while it's writing. I'll let this record for a little while. As I say, these discs are disposable discs. They're full of scratches. I'd like to see what happens. We'll let this one run for a while, and then I'll put in the DV camera, and we'll write some more on that, and then I'll finalize the disc and show you guys what it's doing while it's finalizing, because it does, the laser is going to move back and forth multiple times as it finalizes the disc. And then we'll play around with it with a DVD RW and see what it does with that as well, with the top cover off like this, so you can see how it operates. Okay, it's been recording now for about 27 minutes. I'm going to stop it now so that I can pick up and do a second title on here. So I'll push the stop button, wherever that is on the remote here. Stop. Watch what the laser does. Okay, it's now stopping. So it's writing a session. And now it's ready to do the second session. I'm going to go grab the camera. We'll get that plugged in, get it switched over to DV input, and then I'll write a second session and fill the disc up. Alright, I've got my DV camera hooked up. Not even playing a tape yet. Put it in play. It cuts out. If I unplug the FireWire and plug it back in, it comes back on for like 2 seconds and cuts out. If I press stop, I get a frozen picture. This is using a DCR TRV250, I think this was 240. DCR TRV240. I have 2 of them. I have exactly the same thing happen on both of them. If I go to a live camera picture, I get feedback. Lots of feedback. Sorry. So the DV input, as you can see, works just fine for live. But when I try to play that tape, it plays for 2 seconds and then it cuts out, which is really strange. And it does it on 2 cameras that are the same. If I can line this up here. Spooky. That is really weird. Video feedback. When we were doing TV production stuff, we used to love to do stuff like this. We'd put a super up on a screen, and then I put a camera on it, and on the shooting the monitor, and then go over it. Right? We'd go over frame it up and do this type of stuff. See if I can get a better shot here. You get the feedback, the video feedback in the background. Yeah, cool stuff. Or you project a laser onto a CRT and then shoot it and create a feedback. Like, take a laser pointer, frame your camera on the screen, and take a laser pointer and draw some circles and stuff on the screen and watch the feedback. As you can see, it just keeps on going. Weird. So I figured I'll try a different camera. This time I'm going to use a really old one. This is a CCD TRV110. This is the very first of the Digital 8 cameras, and most likely, and I can guarantee it with certainty, this is the camera that made this tape, because this would have been the one that was plugged into my PC when I edited that tape and dumped it to digital. This would have been the camera I would have used, because this was my slave recorder. And it was used for all of my production work. Let's see if this one works if I press play. Is this one going to cut out as well, like the other two did, or is this one going to actually play? It takes a while to thread up. This is the one, by the way, that I did the chassis swap on it years ago because the ribbon cable had been snipped by the burr on the latch. As you can see, the tape plays perfect on this one. So I don't know what's going on with those other cameras. They're both doing the same thing with the other Toshiba DVD recorder, but they work fine with my DVR7. I've never had an issue on the DVR7. I haven't tried playing this tape though. I should try putting this tape into the DVR7 and see how it performs. Anyway, let's make a recording of this, and then we'll finalize the disc and watch what it does. So if I hit the record button, you should see this thing fire up. Record, there it goes. It's going to start the recording up. It's reading the table of contents now, it hasn't started yet, and moves out to where the video had finished up from the previous recording, and now it's recording this. And interesting, I'm not hearing any sound going through the TV on playback. I'm curious as to perhaps this was recorded with 12-bit sound, because DV and Digital 8 could record in 16-bit or 12-bit, and it all depends on what the file was rendered as. This was, I'm looking at the date when this was recorded. This was recorded November 14th, 2000 is when this tape was recorded. So this tape's 23 years old. I know that because it has the date. If we look at the camera here, it has the date. 8:42 in the evening is when I actually rendered this out onto the camera. It stores that in the data code. So this tape's 23 years old. But I don't hear any sound on the tape itself. I know that the camera works. Pretty sure the camera works. I think if I turn the sound up on here, do I hear anything? I don't hear any sound at all playing back. That is strange. Maybe this camera's got a problem. Wouldn't surprise me, considering how old it is and so forth. I wonder if I can bring up the menu or whether it will. Oops. I stopped it to check something and it stopped my recording. Oh, wait a second here. Let's just put it. The audio mode was set. The audio mix was set to. If I start recording again, this should pick up. If I start the tape playing again, it should pick up recording. Camera just came up with an error, so we'll just try. Is this camera going to be broken? I got another one too, so I can always there, it just stopped it. Stop the recording. Let's just see whether this will pick up again. Still not getting any sound. I'm going to try another. I'm going to try a different camera. I'm going to try I got yet another Digital 8 camera. We'll try another one and see if it works any better, because it's a weird stuff going on here. Interesting. This one here doing the same thing. When I plug the FireWire in, I get the picture just for a split second. Okay, see, and it just cuts out. This time, this is a Sony. This is a TRV 740, and you can indeed hear the sound. So I know there's sound on the tape. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, this has got to do with the bit rate on the sound, because I would not be surprised at all if the bit rate, or the bit, this is a nice camera. Look at the size of the screen on that thing. That's huge. Probably the biggest flip-out screen of any camera. It's a big camera, but again, the FireWire out is not cooperating when I play the tape. If I put it into camera mode, I'm sure that there'll be sound there. I have a theory. I'm going to try something else here. This time I'm going to use the camera. Well, this isn't the camera that recorded, but this is the original tape. I'm going to play it back in my little mini DV camera. This is the original camera tape of some of the aquarium stuff. The Vancouver aquarium portion that was on this video. Let's see if I get picture and sound from this one. I can remember where it is. It's on the front here. I'm curious as to whether I'm going to get play, and am I going to get a picture on this one, or is it also going to? Well, we got sound. I got picture. So my theory is wrong then, because this is the original source tape. The other one is just a direct copy right off of the computer. But that's strange. How it would play on one machine, but 3 other cameras I got no picture off the tape. I was thinking maybe it was 12-bit audio, but this is 12-bit audio. This was recorded, like the source footage was all recorded on a DCR VX1000. Might as well hit the record button on here and record this and just use this as my test footage. But this will be like the 3rd session on here. Of course, it stopped spinning again, but we can start that up pretty quick. So there it goes. Now it's recording. I was thinking maybe it had to do with 12-bit versus 16-bit audio, because DV could have 4 channels, like you could have 4 recording or 4 tracks to like dual stereo if you were in 12-bit mode. So you could have your original audio and you could dub music in if you had the equipment to dub it. If you recorded in 12-bit, I think it was 12-bit 32 kilohertz sampling rate, or the other one was 16-bit 48 kilohertz. Well, DVD is 16-bit or higher. Like it's either 48 kilohertz, or some DVDs could have 96 kilohertz sampling. Most of them were 48 kilohertz at 16-bit. So I was thinking maybe, just maybe, because the tape was in 12-bit, because more than likely when I imported the files into the computer, they would have been set to 12-bit, because when you import to Premiere, it typically will take the file format that the original files are in, and you will be editing in that format, so that you're not transcoding unnecessarily. Right? You can always transcode, but when you're editing DV, and this would have been edited back in the day when I was running probably a DC2000 capture, or just a straight FireWire card, but it would have been back 20 years ago, 23 years ago. We're using computers that had considerably less horsepower than today, so transcoding was something that we tried to avoid. Tried to keep everything in its original source format to preserve the quality. So if it was imported at 12-bit, the project should have been in 12-bit too. Again, I'd have to go back and look at the original files to tell that, but I was just thinking maybe that was why the DV input on this DVD recorder and the other one was bombing out when I played that one tape. And now that I'm curious, I'm going to try playing that tape, which is the Digital 8 copy, this one. I'm going to try playing that tape into my other equipment in the house, my other Toshiba DVD recorder and see whether it bombs on that too. Because I've never had the FireWire bomb on any of them until I tried that tape earlier on the other DVD recorder, and then on this one. That's the first time I've ever had an issue like that where it won't play on 3 cameras, but it does play on a 4th. Very strange. Anyway, I'm going to let this record, and we'll pick this up. I'm going to let the disc just fill the disc up, because this is just a garbage disc anyway. I'll just fill the disc from this tape, and then we'll finalize it so you guys can watch what this thing does while it's finalizing. Because this one here works, apparently. It just needed a new belt. And it needed me to find a remote, which I've now done. So I've got we'll play around with this with DVD RW as well. But for now, let this disc finish, and then I'll finalize it so you can watch what the laser does in the finalizing process. I guess I had a write fail due to too many scratches on the disc. What do you think? Let's try finalizing this disc. Oh, look at it. It's starting and stopping the disc. It's really having trouble. It must be on a really bad spot on the disc where it's quite badly damaged. Hit stop button. I'm going to try to finalize this and just see what happens. It probably isn't going to do anything because the disc is in rough shape. Yeah, it's certainly trying, isn't it? Let's see if I bring up the guider and see whether the guider will do anything. I don't think it'll even come up here. Maybe it will. I'll just go down to Disk Tools and try to finalize. So I'll click Finalize and I'll click Go. And let's just see whether this thing's going to actually be able to do anything. Okay, there, it's going to try. Interesting that it's going right to the very edge of the disc here. And now it should try to write a session at the end there. It's 6% complete now. So now it's going to write the lead-in session. 9% complete. Now it's writing out the lead out. I got to point out that these lasers are very dangerous when they're in the writing mode. You do not want to be looking at them. I'm looking at this through the camera. 79% complete now. It probably wouldn't be dangerous going through the disc because the disc is absorbing all that energy, but if there was no disc there, you certainly would not want to be looking anywhere near that lens, because that is 80% powerful enough to instantly damage your eyes. This is where a lot of time is spent, is actually writing out the end session, and then it goes back to write the table of contents again, or write some more authoring information for DVD players to read, because that's what happens when you first put the disc in, is the DVD player will read the table of contents that tells it where the data is, where each session is for each track. Should be 3 tracks, I think, on here. And now it says it's completed. So if I click the button to exit, it should now be able to play the disc back. If I go into playback, if I hit the play button, it will now read, and this is what we see. I always like the menus on discs that these Liteons created. I think the menus are much nicer looking than, say, the Toshiba, which is ugly. I'll show you the menus. They're really quite nice. So as you can see, these Liteon machines really had a nice looking menu that they created. My Panasonic does the same. My Panasonic creates nice menus like this with a little picture from each of the videos to show as a thumbnail. I shouldn't say all my Panasonics. My, what is it, DMR EH50, I think, with the hard drive. It does menus like this for when discs are finalized. Toshiba, forget it. You've seen the Toshibas. They're ugly. They're just a single line and kind of hokey looking. Anyway, if I pick the title and press OK, picture quality looks fantastic. Now if I go back to top menu, oh, birds are flying east for the winter. The top menu takes me back to there. Let's observe what the laser does when it swings over. So if I pick chapter 1, it moves out to where chapter 1 begins. If I go back to the top menu, this time I'll pick chapter 2. It goes to where chapter 2 is. Chapter 2 is playing. Have I got any sound though? Because I wasn't hearing any sound over the firewire. And I'm not hearing any sound on that tape, on that recording. Interesting. That's weird. I'm going to try that tape on one of my Toshibas and see whether something with that tape. But as I say, 3 or 4 cameras, I got no picture off of it. We'll try the next one, which is the final track. Go back to top menu, and we'll go back to track title number 3. And there's the sound of title 3. And as you can see, the picture quality is excellent. So I don't know what's going on with that other tape, but something's not right with it. That's for sure. But I am going to take it inside and I'm going to try it on my DR430. So I'm going to go try that right now and see whether it's got a picture on that machine. I'm betting it won't, but we'll see. Well, it's working on this one. That's weird. Picture's playing fine on the camera that did not work on the other machine, on both the Toshiba DR5 and the Liteon. This is a DR430 plugged in with FireWire, and as you can see, the picture is fine. It's not cutting out, so I don't know what was going on with those other 2 machines and this one particular tape, but this tape is playing just fine on this same camera, different recorder. So something's up with both that Liteon and the DR5 as far as dealing with this tape goes. That is really, really bizarre, and I don't have an answer for it. And of course we get to the write failure when the disc failed to read or write anymore, just froze, and then it went right back to the first title. So it played. The other one shows it's 13 minutes and 1 second, and it played to about 12:45 and then froze, sat there for a few seconds, and then it reset. So I'm going to now put a DVD RW disc in. So I'm going to hit the eject button, which will stop this. If we look at the disc, we can see how bad it was. Actually, we can look at the session that was written on here. So we can see where it stopped. Obviously, it was this big scratch right there that did it in. It managed to write through this crap on the disc, but you can see, if you look at it, oh, maybe it was over here. It might have been right over here. See this big dead section here. I'm sure. I mean, this disc is just trashed, and that's why it's a disposable disc. But you get the idea of how these things write. And if something obscuring the laser when it's writing, it can't burn the die, and you can see here that it's obscured to the point where it can't write anything. That's a lead out session there. It looks like this portion where it's dark here, it tried to write something or it didn't. It tried to skip over it, but that's the lead out portion, and there'll be something else that was written along the edge here as well. Doesn't really show up, but it did go. The laser did go all the way to the end. Anyway, I've got a DVD RW, and we'll put this one in. close it and put the magnet on. We'll observe what this one does as it loads. And I'm going to write some stuff to this disk. I may have to format it first because it was formatted on a Toshiba. I don't even know if we're going to see the laser on this because yeah, we're not even going to, I doubt we're even going to see it. We might see it a little bit. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it below here. But what we're going to see while it's actually writing, I don't know whether we'll see it or not. DVD RW, we should see something, but DVD RW is actually quite a bit different than the write once. The write once discs, they are an organic dye that gets vaporized by the laser when it pulses. The RW is a metal layer that actually has to erase it and then it has to go back, and so it's multiple passes. It turns the laser on to erase the information, and then it turns the laser on again to write it. And it does it all through just heating it to different temperatures. It changes the crystalline structure of the actual disc. So I'm going to bring up the guider here and see what the guider tells me it's going to do here. Well, it looks like it's ready to go. Okay, so let me just turn on the camera. So hitting record now, and we are recording. I'll let this record for a while and observe what it does, which is probably very similar to what it did on the other one. Just the laser looks a little more intense on this one, just from my perspective where I'm watching it. You notice something happening here? You don't see the laser spot. All you're seeing is the reflection coming off the edge of the disc, and that's because DVD RW, like DVD RAM and DVD plus RW, it's actually a metal layer. And for that matter, Blu-ray discs, whether it's BDR or BDRE, is a metal layer. On BDR, you're actually vaporizing the metal layer, and on BDRE, it's working just like this. You're changing the phase by heating. But the disc itself it's a metal layer, and the light is not shining through. You don't see the laser spot whatsoever, which is, I didn't expect that. I figured you'd see something, but obviously it's being a metal layer, it's reflecting 100%, and it's not allowing any light to penetrate because it's actually not burning. In the case of DVD RW and plus RW and RAM, it's altering the state of the metal itself so that when it's hit with a laser, it reflects the light differently. It reflects it. It changes the reflection angle, the phase of the metal, because essentially what it does, it changes the thickness of the metal, so that as the laser is reflecting back, it changes its phase. I wonder if I put this in infrared mode. I don't think we'll see anything in infrared, but we'll try it. Even in infrared mode, there's nothing to see. That means when I stop the recording and finalize it, we might see the laser when it gets to the very end. But that's about all we're going to see. So I'm going to stop this now because this is just a sample test recording, and finalize the disc. I gotta wait for it. You can see what it's doing. Oh, you can't really see what it's doing. You can just see the light flashing here, and we might see it at the edge here when I go into finalize mode. So I'll bring up the guider. It's still doing its thing. There we go. I'll go down to Disk Tools, and I will finalize. So hit go. These ones actually finalized pretty quick. Wish there was more to see. But unfortunately, unlike DVD recordable or DVD-R or plus R, which are they're just an opaque dye that gets vaporized by the laser, this machine is now working with the proper remote control and a new belt. It's another machine saved from the scrap heap, and one that I can probably put to use at some point. Okay, it's completed. I click exit, and if I hit play, except for on this one, it has an empty title that can be added to. If I click OK, it plays it back, and of course it looks perfect. Go back to Disk Tools, and I've already finalized it, so it is locked. Yeah. So what does it let me do? Does it only let me change? It might only let me erase the disk. It may not have that unfinalize option, because I certainly can't push record. It'll tell me that it can't be recorded on. I have finalized it, so it'll play on a regular DVD player. But now the only thing I can do is I can erase it. If I go back to Guider, I can go down to Disk Tools, and I can select Erase the Disk, and it says all contents will be erased. Table of contents being overwritten as it wipes the disk. Now my other Toshiba, my DVR7 for example, and my Panasonic, I can unfinalize a disk. I can erase the last track and continue using the disk. But not with this one. This one here, once you've erased it, it's completely blank, ready to use again. If we look at the disk itself, you'll see where the different sessions have been written to. The session I just wrote would have been this one down here. And of course, no disk. Throw the top back on, and this one here is as good as new. Okay, that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.